to?
What?
that?
Uncharted.
That is the
Yeah.
worst casting.
I mean, alright, so it's not bad casting, but they could have at least given Mark Wahlberg a fucking mustache and a cigar. You know what I mean?
The minimum they
That
could
is,
have done.
that is the bare minimum. Let him be Mark Wahlberg, but give him a fucking mustache and a cigar, and I'll buy it as Sully at that point. But yeah, I don't know. We'll
And
see.
hello and welcome to Pixel Pints. We are the only global gaming podcast where we talk about two things, which is great beer and video games. I am your host, Mitch, and will be whipping you around all over the place, talking about the things that we want to talk about, including how it is probably the worst miscasting ever in the history of video games. And the only reason why they did it is because the studio wants to keep Tom Holland at Sony. And that's the only reason why they gave him the Uncharted movie. It's not because he looks like Nathan Drake or he's a good Nathan Drake, but I will give him one credit for one scene in that trailer. And it was when the guy was talking about a bunch of different things at the very end of the trailer. And then he goes, "What?" That was the one time where he sold Nathan Drake to me. Besides that, he definitely did not sell me any kind of Nathan Drake. Mark Wahlberg did sell me no kind of Sully. It was just some of the... the horrible part about that, guys, it looks like a pretty good movie. Like, it looks like they did everything right to make a video game movie look good, except for the casting. Oh,
Honestly, like, so I would probably like and go see that movie if it wasn't Uncharted. If it was just a Tom Holland, Mark Wahlberg buddy film, I'm there. But the fact that they want
Undiscovered Tom.
Right.
What's his name? Tom. What's his name?
Tom Holland,
Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg in undiscovered lands.
yeah,
I just think, why Mark Wahlberg? Like, God, they need someone else besides... I think they could maybe sell Tom Holland as Nathan Drake, but you just cannot sell me Mark Wahlberg as Sully. You just can't.
he could have done it. I think that at least based on the trailer. Obviously, we haven't seen the movie, but based on the trailer,
Oh, no, we've seen the movie. You've seen the trailer. You've seen the movie. Just kidding.
basically it looks like they were like, no, just give us more give us more Mark, because he can act. I mean, The Departed was fucking amazing. Everybody that's in that movie does a good job, and they all play believable characters.
I think that's definitely the material elevating maybe the actor
Not the actor.
than the
Well,
other way
elevating
around.
material.
But still, everyone's good in that film.
Yeah, so I don't know.
So, yes.
We'll have to
I-
talk more about it when it comes out, I guess.
Yep.
One more thing. Sorry, Mitch. That kind of gag that you had referenced, where the Scottish guy comes up to him and is basically about to beat him up. I want to hear what McWomble's take on that.
Yeah.
If, like, what he said was legit.
Or like, oh, the butt of the joke is Scottish people because us Americans can't understand what they're saying or whatever. So I'm interested to see what he has to say about it, if he has anything to say about it. So
Well,
we'll
we
have to
will
wait till
find
next
out
week,
about that
I believe.
next week, because McWan will be back on the show next week. Because I wanted to drink tonight, fellas, so I made sure we did a later night, and unfortunately McWan cannot be up this early in the morning. So anyway, I'm your host, Mitch. I'm here in dark LA as we speak. It is 12:16 in the morning. One who almost fell asleep and missed this entire podcast time. But besides that, I am joined by the similar person in my exact time zone who's also up super late with me. That is Burkoff. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Was playing some more Cyberpunk earlier tonight.
Yeah, I think there's a tweet out in the world that said Mitch was right.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
it's getting buggier, dude. It just the bugs just like keep getting worse. I'm like, fuck, I gotta finish this before the game just collapses. So yeah, no, I'm 25 hours in right now. I just finished the Pan Am, her entire storyline, which was really good. I enjoyed it thoroughly. and the romance was worth it to go through that whole entire storyline.
There's one romance you'll probably just have to YouTube it because you're not gonna bother doing it. But there's one romance where you destroy an entire boat
Oh, really?
while having sex
Interesting.
and
Okay.
burn it all down. It's crazy.
Can
But
you do you know if you can do more than one
I have no
in a
idea.
playthrough?
I didn't even try because, like you, I was so bugged out. I needed to get to the end,
Okay.
which also is quite sad to hear you say that, Berghoff, because it's almost been a full freaking year. And the
Yeah.
fact that you're like, oh my God, there's so many bugs that I didn't even expect you to say the lines of the words of it's so buggy. I think I just need a beeline to the rest of the main story because that's what I had to do the entire time. When I was like,
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, this is bad. Oh, I really should just go back to finish this.
It's sad because the writing is fucking amazing. So just like everybody says with Witcher 3, like the side stories and the side quests that you go off on are almost better than the main story. That's the same thing with Cyberpunk. Like
That's good to know.
all the side stuff that I've been doing is phenomenal, and it's really well written, and there's a lot of different Easter eggs and things like that.
I mean, I'll give them their credit. Their side stuff in that in Cyberpunk was pretty good. There's one that I still remember, which is I don't know if you did it. This one, Burkoff. It was the taxis, the AI taxis,
the domain.
and then the one where the one taxi is literally like trying to commit suicide, and it's fascinating to think of an AI trying to commit suicide, but it's like, hey, it's trying to, and so. Now, besides Burkhoff, who's joined in the buggy camp of Cyberpunk buggy camp, boogie out really quick as soon as possible. This is forewarning to all you people. Remember, those next gen patches aren't coming until next year, and I don't trust it. I don't trust it. So, Evan, all the way in Tokyo, Japan. Not Tokyo. He's in Osaka, right?
No,
Kyoto.
Oh no, Kyoto. I was right. No, I said
You
neither of those
almost
two
named
places.
every major city.
Every prefecture, just for McWomble.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, technically all three of those are a prefecture and a city. Well, Tokyo is like a metropolis, so you wouldn't be wrong with either of those. I'm good. Actually, Mitch, I don't smoke crack. I've been thinking about Metroid Dread, the score I gave it. If you don't remember, you said whoever gave it a 9 and up clearly smokes crack, and I gave it a 9. So that meant I smoked crack. And then I thought about it, I'm like, oh wait, no, actually I don't smoke crack, and I never have. And I was listening to a podcast about
8.5.
Metroid. And they did a full hour and a half of Metroid Dread, kind of like we did. And one point that just like clicked with me to think about the game a bit more, he said, what if you compare it to its peers, like maybe like a Blasphemous or a Hollow Knight or a Guacamelee, some more modern style takes on this kind of Metroidvania. What does it do better? Because he's like, Guacamelee, like clearly better. When you go into a room, you know exactly what you need to do to get the item. It's just a matter of the platforming and the moves and chaining that stuff together. And the more I thought about it, I'm like, you know what? I think he's right. So I would knock it down to an 8.5. And if we're going with hard numbers here, you're like, none of that 0.5 shit, no tenths. I would knock it down to an 8. So I think after all of the praise that I gave it, even though we didn't nitpick and stuff, yeah, I don't smoke crack. I'm actually pretty happy about that.
Well, my best friend smokes crack because he gave it a 9.
It's an 8 out of 10.
Which we also we also have one more thing in common. We both saw Dune this weekend. So
yes.
Which did you find those? He was supposed to, for the people that weren't listening at the beginning. He was supposed to look up because I said Timothy Chalamet was the perfect casting in Dune. And Evan was like, no, that's not possible. There's probably someone much better. And he's like, oh, I feel like I was overexposed to Timothy Chalamet. And I said, what 5 movies was he in? Because all I've seen him in is Call Me By Your Name. And I don't know any other film I've seen him in all year long.
Okay, I said 5, and there's actually only 3, but that's closer to 5 than
Then
2.
one is-
Don't you do this?
Actually, no. Yeah, it's closer to 5 than 1, or just right in the middle. Call Me by Your Name, Little Women, and
Oh yeah,
Lady Bird.
he is in Little Women and Lady. You watched all those 3 films in the last year?
Yeah, I happen to have just
Wait.
watched. I'm like, this
Okay,
motherfucker is in everything.
you just hit the awards movies. That's what you did. Like, because Lady Bird and Little Women are like awards contender movies, and that's not like
excuse me.
mainstream. People watch them all the time type movies.
Sacramento is the Midwest of California, and the whole idea of growing up in a I actually looked it up. Apparently, that's what they call it. Maybe it's total bullshit. And going to a Catholic school, and I really really like Lady Bird. I wasn't like, what movies make me look smarter during conversations, and then that popped up, and I started going down the list. And then Little Women
No,
was
he
not
just
my
he
choice.
just picked the dumb version, which is look at all the Oscar movies.
Or no, all you do is type in A24 and then see what movies of theirs pop up, which I've actually seen tons of their films in the past. But then he's Willy Wonka. He's going to be in The French Dispatch, Wes Anderson's new film.
Well, he's
That's
just
5.
he's just
Wait, wait,
starting.
wait.
I've seen
hold
it,
on,
too. I
hold
haven't
on.
yet.
They have not came out yet, and he's just starting filming on Willy Wonka. That thing's not going to come out until late next year, if not 2023. So don't even go there, man. Don't go there.
This is how little I watch of movies. I didn't know there was another Little Women. I was like, are you guys talking about a 90s movie?
Well,
No.
Burkhoff,
Apparently there's a new one.
you watch Game Face. Remember Matt Kyle, specifically when I was talking with him about Sonic the Hedgehog, he was like, I would rather talk about Little Women right now than talk about Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
I figured
Little
he was
Women is
talking.
good.
I thought
Because he
was
loved
talking
it.
about I thought he was talking about the 90s movie.
No,
not-
it was the remake.
Sure.
He loved
Yeah.
it. He loves that
It's really
movie.
good.
I mean, I haven't
Except for
seen
Timothy
it.
Chalamet. Get that
Oh.
guy out of that fucking movie.
and he's
Anyways,
gonna be,
kidding.
and they're doing another Willy Wonka.
Well,
Yeah.
no, this one is a Willy Wonka origin movie, and then this one is going to be this one could be the
Origin story.
this
Because
one's
he needs an origin story.
well, this one's going to be the origin to the original 80s film, or is it in the 90s it came out?
70s.
Oh, is it 70s? Okay. This one
Gene
will
Wilder.
this will be an origin story to that one. And so it's not going to be as wonky as a Wonka movie can be. Wonky.
Pun intended.
No pun intended, totally. But I think Evan and both I agree that we recommend going to see Dune. It's amazing. It's an epic in many ways, and I think it does a good job of taking its time. For once, it's one movie where I'm like, I'm happy it took its time doing this stuff, and like I felt like I didn't like there didn't have to be so much action in a movie for no reason. And actually, I love. I cannot pronounce the director's name. Is it Denis Villeneuve?
I think it's Denis Villeneuve.
There it is. But he said in an interview, and I was like, good for him, especially after seeing this film. He said he hates how basically Marvel movies have transformed the public into dummies, and like they can't see epics anymore. And so he's hopeful that he will be the one to break the chain.
Well, they haven't remade Gone with the Wind, so they might as well just do that too. Sorry, I hate to be so cynical.
It's blowing in the wind. Speaking of blowing in the wind, welcome to Pixel Pints. We talk about two things, which is great beer and video games. If you want to follow us, we stream here on twitch.tv/pixelpints every single weekend. And if you want to find out when we are streaming live, you can follow us on Twitter, which is at pixel_pints, or on Instagram at pixelpintspod. I have this memorized, fellas. There is no writing here that I am reading, so this is all memory. This is good. So if you if you miss us watching us live, you can check out our archive, which is archived on Twitch, or you can check it out on YouTube and just look up Pixel Pints, or anywhere where you listen to your podcasts. Just look up Pixel Pints. You can see, if you're watching us on YouTube, you see the mug next to the Pixel Pints. It's just going to be a green version of that, and then you just look for it on your podcasting service, and it will be right there. You can click on it, and we have so many more episodes you can listen to, and of different people. So if you hate my voice, you can listen to Keith hosting one day, or if you don't like Burkoff's voice, he's not here all the time. You can find someone else. And if you really can't stand Evan just because he's a foreigner and he's in Japan, even though he's totally white, it's the weirdest thing ever. You can totally find another podcast episode where he's not. You can find Dan who teaches school children. So there's so many options that you can enjoy. But yes, as I said, we are gonna go right into what we love most, which is, well, not love most because we love both things, but beers first. Anyone got beers? I mean,
yeah, I do. I've got. I don't know if I've had this on the show before. I've definitely had it before, but Voodoo Ranger Imperial IPA.
Lovely.
They
500
have
ml
these.
can.
No, this is much larger. This is 1 pint. So it's like quite a bit larger.
oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the gas station here had them for 2 for $4.50.
You literally ran to the gas station for the show. That's commitment. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And I'm gonna have it in my Star Trek engineering glass tonight.
I'm just pulling the same beer I had last weekend. I still have more of it, but I still love it. So this is the mango cart one.
Nice.
But I do have the for people that didn't see the show weeks ago. This is the original one that I tried weeks ago.
Which one do you prefer?
Which one? Me or Burkoff?
I guess Burkoff, might as well finish your thoughts on that beer. You've had it before.
I've had it before. It's a standard IPA. I don't know why they call it Imperial. Because it's, I would expect it to be cloudier, darker, if it was Imperial. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's 9%, pretty bitter. It's almost soapy. So I guess it depends on your tolerance for that kind of thing. But not a bad beer.
I mean, the Imperial comes from that 9%. I'd imagine that's a sesh beer.
I think they just they didn't know how else to label it. They're like, fuck, it's so high. We need to give it a different label. So they call it Imperial.
Like they already had the artwork. It was just the Voodoo Ranger IPA, and like they're running through like, holy shit, how much hops did you put in here? Oh fuck! All right, well, slap an Imperial in front of that IPA.
Yeah.
Call the art department. They need to add a couple letters to the can.
I think this is replacing Colt 45.
Yeah, there you go. Oh yeah, Mitch, between the melon cart and the mango cart, which do you prefer?
Ooh, I don't remember. I'll let you know when I finish them both because I haven't had the mango cart in a while. So I'm doing the melon one right now. So when I try the mango one, I'll let you know.
Okay.
I thought you liked the watermelon.
That's what I remember.
Yeah.
Well, the mango. This one is. So I had the other one. There was 3 of them, and this one was the one I had first, and then I found a combo pack of 2 new ones, and I haven't had this one in a while, so I don't remember what it tastes like. So I have to wait.
Okay.
Also, just for the record straight, that white thing I said was a total joke because obviously I was making it as a joke because if you're a racist, then it shouldn't matter because Evan's white, and that's what I meant as a total joke. So just for the record, I was just thinking about that now, and I probably should have cleared that up right away. But I meant to be funny.
I don't know. I think that was pretty obvious. Like I'm white, but I'm technically a minority in Japan. Ha ha ha.
Right.
Type of thing, right?
Okay, good. I just want to make.
Right.
I felt awkward for a second. I was like, wait. I think I did it bad. So I clear that up just to make it clear. Evan, do you got something?
Yeah, and I'm gonna leave it up to you guys to see which one of these I drink. So
both.
Well, yeah, most likely. Kizakura is a sake brewery in southern Kyoto in Fushimi. It's one of the southern wards of Kyoto. and there is a huge sake history there because of the clear water. Apparently, like well water has always been clear. There's a several rivers, one main river running through Fushimi, and they've used that water for sake for generations. And Kizakura ended up going into into craft beer years and years ago. So they've been doing beers. They're not great. Lots of sake breweries that have dipped their toes into making beer. There's just something about it that's off because to me they're coming at it from the wrong angle. But I guess that's my opinion. But so this is the sake brewery Kizakura's two new beers. We have the
Ooh.
Devil's beer, and this is an American Black Ale, 5%.
Okay.
And then it's a little friend. I guess the only difference is, oh man, look at that guy. He is
opposite
so
colors.
high.
Yeah. Opposite color schemes.
Just, there was some movie like, my God, son, your eyes are as red as the devil's dick. I don't remember what movie that's from, but excuse my language.
It's like Dune, except instead of blue eyes, it's red eyes.
Yeah, I should be careful. My mic is right here. And then this one is a Red Session IPA. That's 5%.
I'm gonna go.
So we have the
I go with winky
Black
face.
Ale. Winker.
Winker. I'm gonna wink just just gonna wink just to like give you the wink for the go for it.
I am really curious of what a American black ale is, though.
He'll get to both. We'll make sure.
Yeah. So this is the beer in the red can. The Red Session IPA at 5%. And oh man, this is gonna be an Evan pour.
Oh wow, that's a real bad Evan pour. For people
That's
that don't
horrible,
know,
dude.
clarification: an Evan pour is a bad pour, which means he has a lot of head and little. I was gonna say girth to his drink.
This is all beer, by the way. This is all beer. It doesn't just evaporate, and I don't get any of it. Wow, that is lovely.
It just
How
takes
many
a
sips?
while.
How many sips does it take to get to the center of this Red Session IPA here? Wow.
You know what? You know what I can't wait for, Evan? As we know, Keith listens to every episode, so I will expect a comment in the comments section going, Evan, what'd you do?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this says that the hop, it's got a bit of a tropical hoppy aroma. It's ever so faint. You do get the hops. It smells like it's going to have that nice bitter bite that I'm always looking for in an IPA. Lots of Japanese breweries, they try to take their shot at an IPA, and if they don't do an American version of it, it ends up being slightly watery to me on the back end. But let's see if I can get in here. Got this big mustache too. Let's see what happens.
I thought you said it smells like you were going to heaven, and I was like, what?
I thought you were gonna get some on the nose, and then like
I
Dr.
kind of did. You
Evil.
couldn't see it on camera. Yeah. Oh yeah, you have a
Yeah, so we do it in Belgium.
Our audio listeners, you are missing out. Please watch the YouTube version. It's so much better.
Yeah, this is good. This is you do get a bit of that malty sweetness, but it is in really, really good balance with the bitterness of the IPA. Maybe that's where the session comes from, where you're not going to get slapped in the face with a heavy, heavy bitterness from the IPA, and it's more of a balance, but a little bit sweet. Yeah, that's the type of bitterness that I really like for my IPAs, and I've talked about this over and over, and it's a good bitterness where it just builds and builds on your tongue the more that you drink this beer. So this is actually, I'm surprised because, as I said, that their beers haven't been amazing. This is probably the best one of theirs that I've had. So yeah, this is the Red Session IPA at 5%. And yeah, I really like this. I'll have to slow down a bit.
I like the color.
Mm-hmm. I like
Yeah,
the design.
it's
Simplicity, yet it's very engaging.
it's dark. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's pretty damn dark. Decent kind of mountainous foam. It's not uniform, which is a good sign. A decent carbonation, not too much, and nice Brussels lace going on the glass here. That's either because my glass is clean or the beer is good. Maybe a bit of both, but
All right.
yeah. I like this. Good
now
stuff.
now that we've done our beers, people don't know the show. We now go to a video game topic, and you know, Burkoff brought up this topic. It's kind of half Evans, but Burkoff brought it up first. So Burkoff, introduce your topic. You know, I always forget to say to you guys, being like, when you have a topic, tell me how you came upon this topic, because I love the curiosity, being like, oh, this topic would be great for the show, because obviously usually it happens when you're doing something in games. So let me know about it.
Yeah, so this was a topic that Evan actually came up with, but one that I wanted to do because I think that we all have quite a bit to add to the conversation, and it is regarding signposting in video games, or mise en scene. Sort of how does the environment of the game and the way that your character interacts with what's going on, how does that drive you forward, both in a location sense and like a level sense, but also in a story and narrative sense. So that's the topic. Evan, I don't know if you want to elaborate at all.
Yeah, like as Mitch said, I usually just come up with a topic, and it always has something to do with whatever game I'm playing at the time. And I wish I could remember whenever I initially brought this topic up of what game I had been playing when I was talking about signposting. It might have been a bad one. That's my feeling.
I think it was.
But I
I think
can't
it was.
be sure.
I think it was a game that I suggested, and you're like, you were like, no, this signposting's horrible in this.
I thought you said it was Uncharted, because it's just like, why is everything white or everything yellow?
When you're talking about ledges, I mean that's one of the obvious conversations that we can definitely get into. I don't know. How do you guys want to tackle this? Are we just going to bring up some video games?
Well,
Specifics?
you said
We're going categories.
Well, you said some things were frustrating, so like let's get to the nitty gritty.
I don't remember which game I had specifically was playing when I. Does anyone else have anything immediate that comes to mind for this? While I try to rack my brain.
So I think the most obvious is open world games with like map markers and UI elements, where like you see the next location that's like off in the distance you have to go get, and that's sort of like the laziest way that games do it, but it's pretty common. Far Cry, Skyrim. It does it in Cyberpunk.
Yeah. How do you guys feel about that? Now, I'm of two minds with the very specific. You can place a marker on the map, and no matter where you are, if you're behind a wall or the other direction, it will show you which direction you need to go and exactly how many meters until you get to that said marker. And even if you don't specifically put your own marker on the map, if it's a main story mission, usually they'll have the auto marker on the map for you. And I don't even know if you can turn that stuff off. Far Cry's pretty good with kind of on and off switches for that stuff and options. So I'm of two minds because, one, I don't want to waste time not knowing how the hell to get somewhere. But two, I think design-wise, depending on the game, it's an easy way out so that... I guess open world is slightly different, but it's an easy way out so the designers don't have to come up with maybe clever ways to signpost and lead you to where you need to go. But then there are times when I'm playing a game, it's like, I don't want to be lost right now. I just want to, I have 40 minutes to play this game, and I want to get from A to B, and I want to know exactly how to get there.
Most creative open world signposting I've ran into in games recently, and we'll go into, I guess we'll break this up between open world and not open world. So open world, Ghost of Tsushima. The thing can be, it's like, I mean, when we're talking about open world signposting, specifically, we're talking about, they kind of have to show you where to go exactly. And so like is the way they're showing you an interesting way? Is it giving you a proper way to find the destination? So like an example, like GTA has really good signposting because they paint the road on which direction you need to go. So you're not running into, you know, a house or something because you have to go around the house. You have to take the road around the house and get up the hill. Like that's great signposting because it takes you through the roads, the only direction you really need to go to be able to get to where you need to go. Where in like with Ghost of Tsushima as well, like the wind is great signposting. It's not this giant way marker. You know, you can create one if you want to, but if you want to do it with the wind will give you the direction of where you need to go, and it's enough that it's intriguing. It messes with the environment, which is fun. So it's visually stimulating. So and then there's also like the bird. So when there's a side thing to do, the yellow jay bird will come next to you and then will lead you in the direction of where you want to go. So then you're following the bird instead of following a waypoint. So like it's a way to naturally create in the environment a waypoint system without feeling like, oh my god, I'm doing this waypoint system where here's the waypoint and this is where I need to go and blah blah blah. And it's like, no, like the wind's leading me, and it's all about open for opportunity. But then, you know, for something like GTA, you don't want to be open for opportunity because you don't want to run your car into a house trying to go up a hill to get to, you know, Mac Daddy street corner to go shoot up some gang members in the corner. Like it's good signposting. But I think also like there's but when we're talking about, well, let's just stick to open world. So I think those are two like great examples of open world signposting. I can't believe I'm saying something good about GTA right now.
One thing about the setting waypoints in, let's just say, GTA 5, it's just it solves a very important problem where the reason that it's in there is so that you don't have to keep checking your map and going back and forth in your map and making sure you're going the right way.
What also makes sense because in real life we use GPS. And that's what GPS would take you.
It actually does make sense. Yeah, it does make sense now. Like that, let's just say like that device it's on the dashboard of the car,
Right.
and your character is using it in that way. And yeah, it's just, let's just not, if you want to get lost, you don't set a waypoint, but it's just one of those easy solvable problems where I don't want to keep hitting start and going to my menu to find the map because I don't know where I'm going, or double checking it when I turn left, type of thing.
Yeah. Well, I think so. That's one example. Another more deliberate way to get you from point A to point B, something like Call of Duty, where the action itself just sort of drives you forward. So even though you're more or less like you can't really go outside of the bounds of, you know, whatever they've whatever the roller coaster they've designed for you is, you sort of get the feeling that you have to go this direction because this is, you know, like where all of the action is driving you towards. As a counter to the open world, though, I think one of my favorite games is Morrowind, and Morrowind doesn't tell you explicitly where you need to go on the map. You have to garner those things from your journal entries, and you have to like figure it out from talking to people.
Oh, that annoys the crap out of me.
So it's like it's the extreme in the other direction. You know, like you're sort of free to wander wherever the hell you want, but in order to progress the story or the quest or whatever, you really have to pay attention to the specific details of the interactions that you've had with different characters and things.
Well, I think if the game does a good job, like I haven't played Morrowind, so I can't say saying Morrowind, but I can say like in Ghost of Tsushima, like they have said like, oh yeah, it's over by the things with the two trees, and like you do have to use the environment around you because it gives you a section of the map that you have to look around to find the area to match with the landscape of what you're looking for. And I think that does work when it's distinct and it's like very iconic to find. Whereas like, you know, I don't know about Morrowind specifically, but if they're like, oh yeah, it's behind the 2 trees in the rock, and it's like, well, there's like 502 trees in a rock, so like, which 2 trees in the rock is it, lady? Like, come on.
Yeah, yeah.
Berkoff, do you think, like, obviously Morrowind came out before a lot of the quality of life improvements in open worlds kind of came
Right.
about? Do you think that type of storytelling and signposting or lack thereof has a place in games now, or would you prefer, let's just say, if they were going to remaster Morrowind, would you prefer the option to do more contemporary signposting or like waypoint markers, or keep it as is?
Yeah, so going back to sort of what you were talking about earlier, it depends on the mood, right? So if you're in a mood where you don't want to think about those things, you pick up a game that just fucking tells you where to go. Um, I think if it did have the option, um, yeah, I would probably use it, but it would depend on how I was feeling that night or that day, or you know, um,
Hey, I want to get lost today. You want to get lost? Let's get
yeah,
lost.
yeah. So if it was a weekend, right, like a Sunday or something, and I could sit down and just, I've got 6 hours to just sit and play video games, and this is the game that I'm gonna play. I would probably turn it off. But if
Hmm.
I'm coming home after work and like, oh, I've got 40 minutes to an hour to game, I'm turning this on so I can get through this quest and I can, you know, at least feel accomplished for my hour.
And back to Mitch's note about Ghost of Tsushima, I think that is a very good middle point, a middle ground to make in waypointing where it's diegetic, meaning like everything's taking place in game. So it's a bird leading you towards a point of interest. It's the fox leading you towards the shrines, and it's the
Right.
wind guiding you to your waypoint without it being part of the UI, which you could argue is technically intrusive, especially in a game like that. And I think it works there in that way, and they've figured out a way to make it yeah, less intrusive. Another game, a game that is very, very explicit, maybe overly so, is Horizon Zero Dawn, where you put a marker somewhere, and it will tell you how close you are to like the next turn. So you're actually it basically, okay, your marker is a mile away, and it's gonna show you the way in like tenths. You're like, okay, you go here, okay, now go here, go here. You could technically argue that that's diegetic as well because she has the focus machinery on the side of her head, which is basically like maps out the space, and that's how she uses to solve puzzles in that. Uh, but it is one of those things where, yeah, walking around this city that has stairways and lots of verticality is kind of confusing, and how to get. I just want to get out. I want to get out of the north um, entrance to the city, but I don't know how to get there, so I'm just going to put the pointer down. However, it does take away a bit of that getting lost aspect to it, and then you run into the problem of relying on it too much to where when you take out the markers out of the or just turn them off, then all of a sudden you're completely lost because you've been relying on them for the whole game. Look at games like the Arkham series, specifically the first one. Imagine trying to play that game without uh, bat vision, detective vision. How often did you just keep clicking that button? Because the game never really
Yeah.
teaches you to look at the space or like points of interest in a room,
Well,
because you can always rely on the bat vision to show you the highlighted orange thing. And I think that actually like takes away from it. Works because it's Batman, right? But there's something about that game. Same with Assassin's Creed. You just keep clicking that eagle vision, eagle vision, eagle vision. What's the main thing I'm supposed to be looking at? Sift through all the bullshit, and it's like the developers overly relying on that for people to find things in the environment.
I disagree. Now, I think when looking at the Batman example that you used, I think it depends on the player and how they play. And I think that also comes in the context when we're talking about Assassin's Creed Odyssey as well. Because you could play with almost completely without detective vision in the Batman Arkham game. Because the visual language is there to state, oh, you can break this wall. Oh, this is openable because like either there's cracks on the ground and the cracks are enough that you can put the paste on there and make it explode. Like there is visual language there without detective vision. It's just for some people, it's easier to do that. Now, just because
I would say for most people.
But just
how many people play that game without detective?
But just because it's there does not mean you have to constantly use it. You know.
I mean, that's true. I think the game wants you to use it.
Because basically you're saying, like, then they should just like find ways in the game to shut it off, and then I can't use it, and then I have to like see in the environment and work around the environment. That's basically
take all your powers away.
Yeah,
at the beginning of the game.
Then you'd be mad, being like, why do I not have detective vision anymore? They gave me detective vision all throughout this game, and now I can't use it anymore. And to be honest, yeah, could you play with the game with detective vision on all the time? Sure. But the game would look really crappy because it's just 3 colors. It's blue, yellow, and red.
I think it's a little of both, right? So I didn't use it until the game told me that I needed to use it.
Correct. Same
and
here.
then there were times where I was so frustrated that was all I could do because I couldn't figure it out.
Which then it gives them it's like a cheat. It's like for you to like be like, if I can't figure it out myself, use detective vision. And for the people that say, fuck this, I don't want to try to figure it out, they can just put on detective vision. It's like, for example, Odyssey. I didn't want to do the whole, like, fly with the eagle, look for the landmarks. I was like, fuck that bullshit. Give me waypoints. Like, I'm not going to, because I know this game is going to take up hundreds of hours of my time, which it didn't because I quit too soon. Because it sucks, and I quit.
Got to get that in there.
I just gotta get that in there. Just get the jab. But I quit. But I did change it to where I just get straight up waypoints because I was like, I'm not gonna spend. When they're like, oh yeah, you can see the environment. I was like, that's bullshit. You just want to find a way to make the game last longer. So I spend more time on your game. No, not happening because it's boring. Flying an eagle is so boring.
I actually did like that in Origins.
I
liked it because it's almost like an ADD thing in the earlier Assassin's Creed games where it's so populated with icons that like you just don't know. You just don't even know. Like it's almost intimidating to even open the fucking map. Like I don't want to get into this because I don't even know what I'm supposed to do.
It's like you have 12 homework assignments due in like 24 hours and you don't know which one. It's like, which one do I tackle first? This one's due in an hour. Wait, no, but this one's due at 3 and I don't know which one to tackle first.
Right.
Well,
right.
What is that psychological thing? It's like the Netflix thing where like if a person is given more than 12 choices, it's too overwhelming to.
And they just give up and they look at a different.
And they just give up, or they spend 20 minutes. I'm talking about myself. Spend 20 minutes looking at my fucking Netflix list, and then I just turn it off. Yeah.
Just turn on Squid Game and you're good. Something. Just watch Squid Game and you're good.
But so I found the original conversation of when we were talking about signposting, and it was a pretty heated debate that we had over The Witness. So that was a game that I loved, and you had an issue with, and this is where the topic came from.
Ooh. Okay.
Oh, is this where it came from? Yeah. What signposting?
Yeah.
The Witness doesn't know such words. Not in the vocabulary of
What are you talking
what's
about?
his name?
It does a great job teaching you the puzzle and then being able to move forward with the next puzzle.
It does a great job. It does a great job of slowly teaching you the puzzle. If you happen on the puzzle that initially teaches the new thing, and then you just get further and you're like, am I supposed to be here? I don't know what's going on. Let me go back.
Some of my favorites are a puzzle
wow, this is really
puzzle
taking a long time to go back. Why can't I run faster? Oh, that's not what this game is. Oh, I get it now. All right, don't know how to do that puzzle. Black dot. I didn't. They didn't teach me. Am I in the right place? Off.
My
I
favorite.
like the beginning of it.
My favorite.
I like the beginning of
My
it.
favorite thing, and it's like it's not a spoiler because obviously like it's a puzzle game. You can't really spoil puzzles unless you spoil a solution. But I love that one of the puzzles was like because you can take these boats around the entire island.
Yeah.
Literally, one puzzle is the entire island.
Yeah, once you figure that out, there's a moment like once you unlock one or two of the main areas and you reach high enough ground. At least for me, this is the way that it happened. Once I reached high enough ground, that was when I saw like the larger puzzles inside of
The puzzle.
the puzzles.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. It's like a puzzle with it's Inception. Puzzle the puzzles
It
of the
is.
puzzles.
Yeah. I think it
I
does
think-
a decent job of.
I'm
Not
sorry, Burkoff.
necessarily-
I would take Evan's side. I think it does do bad posting in regards to
Signposting.
yeah, in regards to leading the player in the right direction. I do like the game itself, but I will admit that it could do a better job of being like, this is the first puzzle you really should tackle, and then maybe guide you through like 3 puzzles like in an order. It kind of does that in the beginning for a tiny bit when it teaches you basic rules, but then when it opens up, it does not really like. I wish it led you a little more to give you more rules to work with, so that when you went out and explored more, you felt like you had a more grasp of what was going on.
Okay,
So
I'll pose this. Go. I want to pose a question about another puzzle game to you, but sorry, you can.
So the starting area in the witness is extremely small, and it does not do a very good job of explaining like what the greater island is going to be like. But I think part of the design of the game is he knew that you were going to get frustrated, and by he I mean Jonathan Blow. Jonathan Blow knew that whoever picked up this game was going to get frustrated at certain points. Having the freedom of just wandering wherever you wanted to in the game and not having it tell you you have to do certain things or be in certain places was very deliberate, so that you could just wander around and it didn't really matter that you were stuck in one area or frustrated on one puzzle. Just walk away.
Did he stop to think that like not many people have the patience to do that,
It should have had a run button. I agree with that.
Yeah.
It should have had a run button, but yeah.
It's
I
like
just-
the one
okay,
time they say blow
just-
you, Jonathan, blow.
one of my biggest issues with this game is I'm at a puzzle and I'm like, I don't know, I am unsure that I have all the tools necessary to solve this puzzle. Whereas in a game, by the way, 2021 Game of the Year contender, the Talos Principle,
Yeah.
every puzzle in that game, I know 100% I have everything I need to be able to figure this puzzle out. It's just down to me to figure it out. That's where the witness loses me. If the game could tell me like you have everything you need to figure this puzzle out, then I know like I just have to focus and figure out how to do it. But I didn't know.
Maybe if they named the concepts of saying this is the concept of the black dot, and then when you go to that puzzle, it's saying like maybe it checks off saying you've done the black dot puzzle, you've done the red
Or
dot puzzle,
some sort of visual cue, some sort of extra signposting where like this region, okay, this is the, like whatever, you do your tier of like gold, purple, blue, green, like this is the blue section, like okay, this gets extensively harder going this direction or something like that. Also, you're a robot in the Talos Principle and you can fucking run so fast. It is awesome. You can just immediately, I'm like, this is great. I can't figure this puzzle out. I'm going to go over there. And you're there in like 5 seconds. It's
Yeah.
great. Do you think the witness would lose anything, Burkoff, if they section the game off in the very specific way they do with the Talos Principle?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And I say that because the witness is very much I don't want to say a spiritual successor, but it's definitely it definitely takes from Myst.
Sure.
And Myst, ironically, I was talking with the guy that owns the comic shop down the street from my house, and he just got the Myst remaster that they did, which you can play in VR. And so both him and I played the original Myst when it came out, because that was like the first game that you could get on CD for your PC. That was like a big deal, right? And we were talking about it, and I was like, yeah, dude, I downloaded it because it's on Game Pass too. I downloaded it and went to go play it, and I have no idea how I even got through this as a kid. Like I have no
One of
idea
those
where to,
things.
I have no idea where to go. I don't like any of that stuff. I just totally forgot it. And he was like, yeah, the same thing for me. Like, but The Witnesses has that same design philosophy of, um, it's just up to you. Like if you want to interact with the game, the more you interact with it, the more you're gonna discover, type of thing.
I think
Rather
they do
than-
section off the game. I just don't think they do it smart enough.
Well, so it is sectioned off.
Because they do three
And-
sections: the castle, the forest, and then one other section. I can't remember. It's been a while.
There's like 4 or 5 actually.
Well, there's 3 to start, and then they branch off even more as once you get past those 3 main sections.
Yeah, because there's a couple different forest areas. There's the one with the audio puzzle, and then there's the tree houses, and then there's the desert area, and then the desert area underneath has like a cavern that you go through, which those puzzles are really cool. But yeah, I think it's very deliberate. I think it's based on the design philosophy of Myst, which is sort of an archaic design philosophy. It's not very modern, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. This is the obligatory grocery unboxing.
Every single week.
Every single week. Yeah. Okay. So, and here's the thing with Jonathan Blow. I've played Braid so many times. The first time, again, this is when I lived in Chicago. My brother and we played through Braid together. A very, very smart creating game. I'd never played anything like it, especially like, oh, you can download games from the internet. Like, it's not a physical
Right.
copy that's in stores. That's crazy.
Right.
Jonathan Blow is obviously a very smart person. And if that's his design philosophy and he doesn't want to make a more hand-holdy version of The Witness, that's totally fine. It's the same thing like, look, if Metroid Dread or Souls games had an easy mode, if that's what the developers want, that's fine. But if they say, no, that's not what we want, that's not our philosophy, that's also fine. So, yeah, like, and Burkoff, you know now, because I think maybe initially you're like, oh, Evan can't play tactics games, and he doesn't like The Witness because he's a big dum-dum.
I never said that.
I know, you've never said that, by the way. But maybe in the back of the mind you're thinking a little bit like he doesn't like to be challenged in that way. Like he can play a game on hard, but if he really needs to massage his tactical brain
his gray
muscles,
matter.
his gray matter, he can't do it. But now you know, I beat the Talos Principle without looking up a single puzzle, so you know that's not the case.
Which is very impressive. Yeah, and I saw you
But-
started some of the Road to Gehenna, which is those puzzles are so.
Dude, I was so cocky, admittedly. I went to the first, there's like 4 sections. I went to the first one, did all those puzzles, I'm like, man, I am so good at this game, by the way. And then I went to the second part, and there's a puzzle in the middle of it. I cannot, for the life of me, figure out what the hell to do. Like, I'm stumped, completely stumped. So I've walked away from it. I do want to return to it, because that game's amazing.
I've never finished the Road to Gehenna, so yeah.
It's so hard, in a good way and also a bad way, because it makes me feel stupid. But that's a story for another time. But
Definitely.
yeah, so The Witness is its own thing. Like I get it. It's a design philosophy thing. So
Make your guess, gentlemen. Which one do I like more?
I think
I'm
you
the
like
The
the one with
melon, or
melon.
the mango?
the
melon.
The melon, yeah, the red.
Na na na
Mango.
na. Mango.
Oh, wow.
All
He
right.
changed teams halfway through.
So what about you, Mitch? Have you ever had a game where just felt utterly lost, and were like, screw this game, I'm not gonna play it anymore?
Witcher 3.
Really?
No, seriously. Yeah, I got right into it and I was like, well, there's other reasons for that context, but it was nah, I actually wouldn't blame the game for its stuff. Because I said The Witcher 3 because I didn't have a context of what the hell was going on. The combat was janky. The first mission had me go on, had really bad combat and just bad scenario in general. So never mind, I changed my mind. It's not The Witcher 3. For just signposting, that's so hard because I think
Dude, this guy is switching. First he says melon, then he says mango. No, he says The Witcher 3, then he says no. He's changing his mind all over the place.
Well, I think the thing for me is that signposting is not as much of an issue in the games I've played since I was a kid. I guess maybe I would say okay, I got one now. I actually enjoyed this game, so the fact that I'm gonna list this game, but it's whenever I think of signposting, I think of older games, and so I'm thinking of something like Final Fantasy VIII. Like I couldn't figure out what to do in Final Fantasy VIII because the lack of signposting and the lack of allowing you the ability to understand what is next. Either regards of saying like, here's a journal entry and this is what you should be doing now, or a waypoint on a map to know what you'd be doing. Like Burkhoff, you'd be shocked to hear this, but actually you may not be shocked to hear this. Who knows? You can tell me if you're gasped or not, which is it is after you do the very first mission for the school for your graduation, and then you are told to go on your first real life mission after being a cadet. And I didn't know you had to take the train to leave the town. I spent for hours just going around all over the school, then the town, then the outside. I didn't even know you had to take the freaking train. I had to look it up. Like, that's how bad some of the old games are in regards to leading you in the direction you need to go. And it's reliant. And we talked about this in regards to when we were talking about Metroid Dread. And, I just said, I don't mind if games do that, but I want games to offer a choice. So if someone gets stuck, to give them the ability to help the player, because sometimes it's for something like my example with Metroid Dread was like it's stupid for being stupid, not because it's stupid for just wanting to just be just like the genre that it was before it, not because it was a smart design decision to go, let's hide how to open up. Or if you get lost, let's not tell you how to get out of it, because people want to enjoy your game, and being lost isn't enjoyable. I don't think anybody could tell you being lost is enjoyable. So I think as long as games nowadays do more with choice, and I think that's awesome, because you look at the example of, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It gave me the option to say, hey, do you want to do this really stupid option where you can take the eagle and fly around and look for the markers? And I'm like, hell no, I don't want to do that. Just give me the freaking waypoint, because I could care less about what the environment looks like, because I know your stories are stupid anyway. So let me just get through this game. And I didn't get through it, but anyway. But at least it offered me a choice. Just like Ghost of Tsushima is like, if you don't want to deal with the stupid wind, you can turn on the waypoint. But I find the wind compelling because it's different, and it's fun, it's natural, and it's stimulating in many different capacities. And I felt like it wasn't another game where I had to go from waypoint to waypoint, where because it was wind, it felt like it was natural, and that I could naturally explore around the environment. And I was more interested in actually exploring the environment all around me, because I felt like I wasn't pushed because I had to go to this waypoint. And it's like the wind is saying you should go this way, but you don't have to go this way because something is interesting over here and you can go explore there. And I think the game did really well of that. So I think when I think of older games, that's where I think of when signposting was really, really bad. And I think nowadays games do a good job of being able to signpost for the players. And now I think even when games try to go back to how the olden days were, which is not a bad thing. If it's really good design, you'll know what to do and you'll know where to go, and it'll be fun for you as the player. But then for the player that doesn't want to deal with that and deal with the fact of getting lost, because we all have busy lives and there's a lot of games out there to play, it gives me the option to say, screw it, give me a waypoint. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a long way to say, Old games are crappy signposters.
I mean, that's just like they were still trying to figure out how to do those things, especially in 3D spaces.
Well, I think
Like, think about old games where like
I would
all you
just
did is move to the right. There was no
but I would disagree,
signposting
Evan. I
needed.
think Tomb Raider was probably one of the best signposting games for not signposting
For its time.
for its
You're talking
time.
about
The
the
original
original
Tomb
or-
Raider, yeah, the original Tomb Raider. I think some of the original first two Tomb Raiders are some of the best signposting for not signposting
That's okay.
because
I would just,
because the
I
design
never
was
played
good. The design was good enough on its
I
own.
would just, I would disagree. I would say that it's the design was intuitive for some people, but I had trouble with two in particular of trying to figure out where the hell to go and what you need, what button to flip and all that kind of stuff. Like I don't feel like it really tells you.
Wait a minute.
or-
Wait a minute, Mitch.
you're not
are you
a Tomb
saying?
Raider.
Wait, Mitch. Are you saying that it is okay to get lost and discover things for yourself? What I'm trying to say is, Tomb Raider is the Tomb Raider of Metroid. It's okay to. Does that make any sense? What I just said? It kind of does.
Wrong.
In Metroid games, it's okay to get lost.
Wrong.
Figure it out yourself. Don't signpost.
Wrong.
Do you have a copy of Tomb Raider in your vicinity? If you do, I want you to grab it and show it to the camera.
I would
I-
love
I-
for him to grab.
Dude, that would be amazing.
No, I don't. Have,
You've,
no, I
you've
don't.
done it before.
Yeah,
I don't have my old games yet. I'm getting them shipped to me, so I will have
Okay,
them soon.
So when you say it was great for not signposting, I've never played any of the old Tomb Raider games. What do you mean?
Alright.
It led you, most of the time it led you because it wasn't like an open world, so it only had a few options to go through.
Yeah.
And then when you found keys, the game did a really good job of like, say I needed a key for a door, and it leads me to another corridor, and I go through that corridor and I find the key. Instead of double backing, it naturally found ways to, like, you found a trap door, and then it makes you end around
Yeah.
and it leads you back to where the door is. So then you didn't have
Or
to
you-
worry about trying to figure out how to do all that stuff. Now, the game did offer you incentives. So like an example in the first game, when you found a way to I think it was split the waterfall in one, I think it's the second level of the game. It actually
Is that a euphemism for something?
No,
No.
not that
Sorry.
of. When you find a
I
way to
apologize.
split, that's okay. When you find a way to split the waterfall open in the I think it's like the second or third level. I think it's the third level. You can actually climb up the waterfall again, and then you can find hidden weapons in the back. And like that's a way of offering like exploration and rewards without signposting.
It's like a secret area, right? You get
Right,
rewarded for
exactly.
finding the-
Yeah, I get what Mitch is saying.
You
But
can have
it's
great
based-
you have a great game design with no signposting.
Well, it's because of the limited options, though, because the original Tomb Raider games were sort of limited to either you got to do this stuff for a puzzle or you're going to trigger an enemy encounter.
And there's
Like,
nothing
those
wrong
are-
with that.
No, I know, but that's like the two things. So if you're wandering around an area and neither one of those things has happened, you know that you need to go in a different direction. Until
Okay.
you hit that point where, like, oh, I've triggered an enemy encounter, kill the enemies, okay, I'm going in the right direction. That is signposting in its own way.
I
Yeah,
wouldn't
when
say
enemies
I wouldn't say-
appear,
I
you're-
wouldn't
you're
say
on the
that
right track.
necessarily. Because
I mean,
there's some
that's-
levels where there's almost no enemies, and it's like if there's sometimes
Well,
you have to
or
just
you-
discover the environment of where you have to do your traversal to be able to get into another area.
Right, or it's like a puzzle area, or where you're like encountering, like, oh, okay, here's something new. I'm flipping a switch, or yeah, I'm climbing a wall. Yeah,
But
but
I mean,
that's still
that's
that's still signposting.
I would call that design more than signposting.
Well, it's a part of the design, yeah. The way in which you're guiding your player through the levels.
I would just call it really good design that like it has signposting without being signposting.
Okay.
Because like
Yeah,
signposting is like explicit. It's bam. It's like you're going in the right direction, and it's like
Yeah,
well,
no.
it can be subtle as well. There's degrees of signposting, I think.
I was gonna say one of the things that I hate the most about Cyberpunk is that freaking yellow exclamation point.
You don't love the
Is
yellow? Come on, come on. The
no,
yellow's its staple, man. The yellow's its
there's
staple.
there's a yellow exclamation point
Yep.
everything that you need to do, like whatever quest you have assigned or whatever. And it's always visible.
No matter
It's not
what.
like it's not like it appears like when you get
It's like
close
turn
enough or
it the
whatever.
f
It's
off,
just,
man.
or at least like I don't know, find a way to guide me in the direction and then turn it on when I'm like super close.
Yeah.
But you can literally be on like one end of and the quest is on the total opposite. It's going to take you, 20 minutes to drive from one area to the next, and there's that yellow freaking exclamation point, and you're staring at that the entire time you're driving, and you're like, God damn it! Like I know where I have to go. You don't need to
Right.
constantly remind
Like
me.
shut the f up, game. Like I know what to do.
We've
Yeah.
we've all played enough video games to where we subconsciously or just we're aware of general signposting in games. It's I don't remember what game it was, but I was playing something and I think Her Majesty was watching me and I'm like just following this uh, general path. And there's like a lot of things going on in the environment, but I'm just like going to like, how did you know how to go that way? I'm like, oh, there was a light on, like in the, because so and that's another way that people signpost and obviously depending on your game. I don't remember a game I was playing, but a more modern game. Like you turn a corner and obviously they design these ways. It's like funneling you in very specific ways. You turn the corner and it's dark, and just over there's a house with like a light on. It's like, oh, that light.
Obviously,
You
yeah.
gotta go that way no matter what. But this, to people that don't play games or maybe depending on what genres you're used to playing, that might not naturally occur to you. You turn the corner and you just start looking around, and that light is not. It's not a flashing yellow exclamation point or whatever per se, but it's an interesting way of like directing your attention towards something, or maybe there's something out of place in the environment. There's a pillar that has fallen over, that's broken
Right.
down. It's just something in the environment that looks off, or that naturally will draw your eye towards it. Is something that lots of games do, and I know Erebus Jones will be quite happy to hear this. But I think one game that does great signposting without necessarily being very explicit in your face about it is Breath of the Wild. I think it is a great middle point
It
of
is. Well, and the fact
it,
that you can choose. So like you can
yeah.
choose to mark visual stuff that you see while you're on a tower or whatever.
That's
I was
not.
gonna bring it up
That's not
earlier.
even signposting. That's you creating your own signposting.
No. It is signposting because it's giving you visual markers. It's things that are visually interesting to you, and the fact that you're able to label them yourself is a good mechanic because
They only
it's
do
not.
it. They only do it because there's nothing else in the world to look at.
Oh my
Well,
god,
okay.
it's like one of the worst
It's
sentences. No,
It's the
no,
most.
there's
It's the most
stuff
barren.
around every single
It's
corner.
the most barren world ever. It is one
There
of
is
the most.
always something to look at,
The reason why
something
they're
to draw your eye
no,
in
listen,
every direction. Dude, go back and watch that. It was I believe it was a GDC. It might have been GDC or like a Tokyo Game Show um, presentation where they were Nintendo was talking about, or like the devs of Breath of the Wild were talking about the design philosophy of Breath of the Wild, and they were talking about how in this giant open world that is full of many things, and it's not barren at all. No, there's plenty of barren areas, but that's kind of the point. Where how do you, like we were just talking
they
about,
only
how do
did that
you?
because the Wii U couldn't run that much stuff in the environment, so they basically justified being like, "Oh yeah, we purposely made it like there's nothing in there because it's like no, your hardware was so shitty it couldn't even run a barren wasteland in good frame rates."
Well, you actually did a really almost perfect job of exactly how the guy said that when he was on stage. That was almost uncanny. The cadence, put his hands up too. He's like, well, I'm just kidding. Hey, I got 120 shrines on the Wii U and the Switch. There's not that much difference in that game, but the main point is what they did was, if you're going in any single direction, they're always going to put something um, just around a curve or a mountain. Like we said with the light drawing your attention, they purposely put something that's going to draw your eye towards it, so that you have this feeling of exploration. Again, it's a lot of haters, a lot of Breath of the Wild haters here, but I think that game does a great job of making you feel like you're in this world and you want to explore it, and you're on a giant adventure. With
A giant adventure of nothing.
what are you talking about? Like 250 hours in that game. I still want to play it.
Yeah,
I can't get my hand.
you and your Zelda, you and it's like Rafa and his GTA. Take your shot and enjoy it, and let everyone else talk about it.
Hey, I am not. I'm critical of Zelda games when they're bad. Skyward Sword is a terrible game. Actually, I think Tomb Raiders and I want to do an episode dedicated to trashing Skyward Sword, because he hates that game as much as I do.
To be honest,
But anyways, agree or not, I personally.
You personally think that,
that's a-
but I personally think you're very wrong, because that's not it's not very good in many different ways.
Why don't you leave me alone and drink your melon?
Sorry, it's not.
Mango
It's not. Here, let me re-say that. It's not as good. It's a good game. It's just not a great game, and it's not the best game ever made. And it definitely got the biggest Nintendo bump I ever seen in my god fucking life, because it is a
No.
It is a terrible open world game. It is a terrible
Mitch.
open world game.
Mitch, you are forgetting that Skyward Sword got a 10 out of 10 from IGN. If there was ever
my
a
God.
Zelda game to trash and that is overrated, it has to
Yeah.
be a 10 out of 10 for Skyward Sword. Hey, where's the camera? Never forget. Never forget that.
Have
fucking
we
10 out of
all
10
have we all
Skyward
played Firewatch?
No.
You haven't
Oh,
played
yes.
Firewatch? Okay.
Yeah, what do you think signposting in
It's
Firewatch?
time posting. I think it's really good. It's a small environment though, so the fact
They're
that
good at making it feel bigger than it is. I think they
true,
achieve that.
yeah, it does feel bigger than it is, but the fact that it's a small area, it's not difficult to lose your way, and it's easy for the game to point you in the right direction.
All right.
I think it helps that it's kind of natural, where you have the I forgot the woman's name who's in the kind of the
It's been
she's
a
like
long
your
time since I've
supervisor.
played
She's in the
this.
high tower. She directs you through a radio to
Yep.
places that you're supposed to be going, and then from there, you kind of get down from your I keep calling it a high tower. What is
Your watch.
that structure
yeah.
called? Once you get on the ground, then you kind of slowly, the game will signpost you towards what you're trying to do. But they kind of they still make it feel like we're some giant national park in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, and
While-
there's lots of nooks and crannies too, because there's the different campsites that you discover, and there's it's really interesting what that game is able to do, because you are alone the entire time. Even though you're talking with trying to find out what her name is. I'm looking at the Wikipedia
Daphne, Diane.
article.
Hey, if you don't
Denise.
have enough money to animate faces,
Denise. Her
First
name's
person?
Denise.
Denise. Okay.
Is it
First
Denise?
person
No,
name?
no. I'm just
no other
every
players.
woman is named Denise in a
Okay.
video game.
Delilah.
Delilah.
Delilah. Who calls a lady Delilah in a video game? All right,
Come on, man.
two.
Plain white t-shirts.
The final question to wrap
Yeah.
this all up. What is the future of signposting?
I think it's going to be a combination. I think studios are going to get better at the diegetic storytelling and diegetic navigation, right? So, like you were saying with Ghost of Tsushima, where the wind tells you where to go, or the fox tells you where to go, or Morrowind, your journal you on what next town you need to visit. I think there's going to be a combination of those things and the quality of life. Hey, let me just turn this on. Give me a waypoint marker, and let me, follow an icon. I think that's the future. Is the option of either immersing yourself or stepping back and just playing and just gamifying the game.
Evan?
Let me tell you, I think games are going to get really, really windy from here on out. No, I'm just kidding.
And they might actually, yeah.
Right.
You know what?
Like, this game takes place in Chicago.
Here I was expecting you to say, like, Breath of the Wild is the future.
Water.
Water is
Breath
the
of
future?
the Wild is the future of the entire human world here, the civilization. No.
Human existence relies on Breath of the Wild.
I do appreciate that at least, like, whether or not you like the game, at least they looked at, like, a Ubisoft map for, like, an AC game and said, we gotta do something better than this. This is getting out of hand. And then they put the markers, like, oh, I actually have to climb a structure, and then the reward I get from that is being able to see the land and make my own markers. It puts all of that on the player, and it's so much more satisfactory for you to do that instead of climbing a tower and having everything fill in, and it's already complete at that point, and now you just have to, like, check everything off the list. I like how they took a different angle with that, and it's also one of those things.
I'll admit I enjoyed that part. I enjoyed that part.
Yeah, and it's also one of those things like that and Ghost of Tsushima with the wind. You're thinking, like, how did nobody else think about this? How come it took so long? Like, oh, it's so obvious, and yet nobody thought about it. So I see, hopefully, being trying to look at this in a positive light with games and not having everyone copy each other, that those new ideas are going to happen, right? There's going to be quality of life improvements and iterations where it's like, oh, of course this makes everything better without it being in your face. So I think those improvements will keep happening. You get different people attacking these problems from different angles. But I would say overall, I kind of agree with Burkhoff where it's going to be a mixture of both. In that way, you're going to have your Ghost of Tsushima, and then I don't know, what was the other thing that you had mentioned?
Just
Burkhoff?
giving people the option to turn it off and on as
Hopefully it's
Yep.
going to be an option for you to select how you want to experience it.
Yeah, and with games really focusing on accessibility, look at The Last of Us Part 2 doing a really great job with that. I hope that stuff progresses. And I think it's going to be like those option menus are going to just give you way more options to turn things off or turn things on. One of the best things Ubisoft ever did was just saying, like, do you want the animation when you, like, pull a fucking herb out of the ground or not?
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't care after the 15th time? It just appears in your inventory immediately. Even in Tsushima, you're, like, riding on your horse and you're in the vicinity of, like, an item you can pick up. You just tap the button and it's in your inventory. It's like, thank you for giving us those options. So
opposed to Red Dead, where you literally have to fucking watch him.
Like, I get it, but I
Rill
also
it
don't
out,
get it.
lay the carpeting, set up the house, brush the horse.
I never did anything in that camp, by the way. It's like, take these bushels of rice and put them over there. I'm like, oh, but when I put it over my shoulder, I walk even slower. Oh. You ain't getting this rice over there. Someone else is going to do it. But
make the children do it.
There's going to be a lot of... yeah, come on, give me the choice.
Yeah, they got so many freaking children. Go command the children. It's an RTS.
Child still existed in 1889 or whatever it was, right? 1912.
It's Dan's new favorite game. It's an RTS. They demands the children to go do things in the camp.
Yeah, we have to get another Dan Tactics show
Tactics
going on.
show.
Yeah.
That's a new genre. That's what I'm gonna. Dan Tactics game.
By the way, at some point in the future, I want to host the show, and I've thought of a nickname for every single person on this show. including myself, which is not something you can't give yourself a nickname, but we'll figure it out in the future.
You'll have to negotiate that
yeah,
with the master himself.
yeah, that's not. You shouldn't be able to do that. But
Maybe
anyways,
maybe
option menu.
if you win something, you'll be able to do so.
So close. It's going to come down to the wire. But yeah, toggle option menu, toggle on, toggle off. I appreciate that. What do you think, Mitch?
I'm pretty much with you guys on that board. I think what the Ghost of Tsushima, and I think in some instances Breath of the Wild has done as well, which is has took the bloat of Ubisoft and said, fuck this.
Yeah.
We don't need this bloat. Let's just reduce this down to maybe 3 or 4 things instead of 20 things. And then let's try to make them visually captivating in the environment to be able to intrigue the player as they proceed towards what they're working towards, and makes it feel like as if their time was well spent doing the thing that they were supposed to do. And I think, unfortunately, when I was on Game Face, that Shane and Matt never really understood what I was trying to say, which was what I loved about Ghost of Tsushima and doing all the side stuff, and why I felt like it was incrementally very important to me, is that I felt like I wasn't getting just blank experience points to put towards my player, as each thing did one specific impactful thing to my player. And that I was like, oh, I get more health by doing this, instead of saying you're getting more XP that eventually you will spend on this item that can give you more health. And it's like, no, it's like, it's truly impactful because you get the instant gratification of the health that was instantly there as soon as I did that thing, instead of saying take the XP and then spend it on health later. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think games are kind of working towards that in regards to, finding things that make it more stunning in the environment, which then, creates the immersion that we all want in games, right? We all want immersion. We all want to feel like we're in it hardcore. And it's when the signposting is too much in regards to it's like the signposting is because it's a game signposting, not because it's in the environment signposting, So when it's in the game, it takes us out of the game and reminds us, oh, it's just another video game. And when it's that instance, it basically tells me, I have a TV above me. That's why I'm pointing up, but being like, turn on my television. Let me watch a show while I play this game, because this game really doesn't mean anything into the immersion of the game because it's a game, right? Whereas like Ghost of Tsushima, it's like, oh, it's an experience because like I'm captivated in the environment and I'm interested and I'm cultivated and I don't feel like I have a checklist of 30 things to do at this moment. And the signposting is clear of once. I think the other thing that's going to be the future is signposting when you find it. Not necessarily it instantly just appearing in front of you to be like, bam,
right,
it's all there. It's all on the map. There's the 50 things to do on your map. And it's like, no, when you run into 5 things, the 5 things will pop up on your map. And then you can choose if you want to go through them or not. But it's not just like this instant homework. There's like not instant homework assignment in front of your face of that signposting. Right. So that's what I think the future of games is going to be, which I think is a great future. And I think is what the future we all want in games. And it's just unfortunate that, thank God for Ubisoft for being such horrible game designers in that aspect that have forced other people to make better decisions. And I only am saying this as a mean thing to Ubisoft because I hope they do a better job in the future, because I would love for them to do better. That's the only reason why I'm bad. I'm critical of games. So I hope that they're as a way of trying to say, be better, because I want you to be better, because I want to play something phenomenal from you. So
I think, just to dovetail on that a little bit, I think
you can't dovetail on my thing. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
I think Ubisoft has the talent to have those interesting side quests. Like, give me those stories that I want to hear. Like, give me a reason to go take out this 30th fucking encampment, right?
If I spend 100 hours in your world, give me a reason to spend 100 hours in your world, not because I have a homework assignment of 100 things to do.
There should be a character and a sex scene at the end of it, to make me interested.
Yeah. Basically, Burkhoff just wants more porn. That's basically what you just said.
Cyberpunk, it dangles the carrot and then it actually gives it to you. I'm just saying.
My final thought is just think there's a very fine line between being handholdy and the level of how rewarded a character or a player feels of discovering something by themselves and I hope that in the future that they, and I think it will happen, is like people will improve on this to where we as a player we feel like we're discovering something by ourselves without noticing the signposting,
game,
because
yeah.
they've just done such a good job of leading us down this path without us being cognizant, or at least having it be too explicit. And I think those things will get better as things go on. But yeah, I think that's the line I think most developers are trying to figure out, and it really depends on the genre. Of course, we talked a lot about 3D games, but yeah, I think that's what I hope to see in the future, is more clever design when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for watching, everybody. This is actually, I think it started rocky at the start, but I think we kind of delved into an interesting topic by the end of it. So hopefully people hung around long enough. But if you are still listening, thank you for listening. You can find us streaming live here on Twitch at twitch.tv/pixelpints, or and if you want to follow when we go live, we are on Twitter at pixel_pints, or on Instagram at pixelpintspod. You can see every single episode archived on twitch.tv/pixelpints, or on YouTube. Just look up Pixel Pints, or anywhere you get your podcasts. Just look for the green mug and just look up Pixel Pints, and we're right there. There are so many episodes, so many guests, so much fun is to be had on this show. So thank you, Berghoff Evan, for having some fun with me on this very early morning at 1:38 in the morning, Pacific Standard Time. On that note,
We're out.
oh no, wrong button.
Or maybe not. Maybe we're
not
just
out.
sticking around for a little bit.
You know why it didn't work, Berghoff? Because you didn't say it. So why don't you say it?
I just said, and on that note, we're out.
There we go.
See, it only works when it hears Berkhoff's voice. It triggers the music. I imagine the music's playing.
I think. I don't. Yeah, it must be. This transition on Twitch. Shout out to House414. He wanted to know, we ever crowned the worst publisher? I don't think we did, but EA always gets that title.
That would be fun. That's a new topic. There we go. Next time. Stay tuned.
Yeah,